Good afternoon, and welcome to yet another class, HIS/PCR 872 History of Africa. In the past, I have asked you the question, and I think we've answered that question about why, where, when, how, etc., concerning the studying of Africa. So today we are going to shed more light on this question in the next few minutes. And then you can, as usual, ask your question using the chat box or using our WhatsApp group. Why we study African history? We have talked about the Eurocentric perspective predicated on Hamitic hypothesis, meaning that if you see anything good about Africa, whether it is the Egyptian civilization or it is the Kush civilization, Carthage, Monomotapa, or any part of Africa for that matter, it must have come about because of encounter with the Europeans. And we have said that that is not true. The Afrocentric, that is the African scholars, using various sources such as archaeology, oral tradition, anthropological perspective, ethnography, have been able to debunk such Hamitic hypothesis. So, and it also makes the studying of Africa quite relevant. Whether we are studying the period up to 1875, or even in the contemporary period, you can see that we must know more about Africa. We must know more about the culture. So to validate what we've been talking about, particularly as it relates to the period we are studying, one, we study African history because it is the birthplace of human beings. And I believe you can see the PowerPoint being projected. I said it's the birthplace of human beings. How did we know that? Archaeologists have been able to discover through excavation at Olduvai, Gorge, in what is today northern Tanzania. It used to be Tanganyika. That the score that was put to dating, archaeological dating, showcased that human beings actually emerged in that part of the world. And then with time, they spread across the continent, outside the continent, as I have shown before in this map, the map of the migration that we've seen before. So it is the birthplace of human beings. That is the first reason why it is relevant to study Africa. And when we talk about this excavation in East Africa, specifically in Tanganyika, or what is today called Tanzania, we have to relate to the work of Leakey, an European who is also an Africanist. And by the way, not all Africans are Afrocentric and not all Europeans are Eurocentric. In the case of Louis Leakey and his wife, Mary Leakey, and the son, Richard Leakey, they are referred to as Africanists to the core. They researched, they carried out various excavations in East Africa, and they happen to be the harbingers of this justification that indeed the first hominid discovered in Olduvai, Gorge, indicates that Africa was the birthplace of man. That is where the first man, erect, the Homo sapiens sapien, that is the first man and woman to walk erect, beyond monkeys and gorillas and whatever. So the work of Leakey is so central. to our understanding of why we need to study Africa, why and how we can debunk the Eurocentric view of Africa, why and how a mythic hypothesis has no validation, that it can stand the test of time. Because through these works, we've seen that indeed man emerged. And the gentleman in this picture that you are seeing is Louis Leakey, the pioneer of that archaeological excavation in East Africa. And that's an evidence of, what he discovered along with his wife and his son, who later became so prominent. Why do we study Africa again? We study Africa because the DNA evidence, even beyond archaeology, also justify that the skull, the remains of human beings discovered in that part of Africa and various other parts after their work in 1974 was put to mitochondrial DNA, testing for Y chromosome. And again, through science, beyond archaeological science, through medical science, we now know that the birthplace of man lies in Africa. We study Africa also because of the fact that the human history is about migration. And migration of man and woman started in Africa based on that archaeological evidence, as well as the medical evidence that we've talked about. So from Africa, particularly East Africa, there was that dispersal to various parts, to Middle East, to Europe, Asia, Australia, and the Americas. You have to also know that the world as we know it today was so compact, before it began to break as a result of events, such, for instance, the climate change that we are witnessing today. And this map also is showing you the origin of humankind. The dark dotted place is called, that is the Olduvai Gorge. And you can see from there dispersal. Dispersal for more arable land, dispersal for ability to rear their animals, and dispersal for space also. And competition for land also led to dispersal of, from the original place of birth of man. You can also see the evidence, okay? As I stated before, the world map that you see today was so closed. South America was very close to anything below West Africa. North America also very close to Europe. Before the Ice Age, what we are saying that the world was more close, more compact, and it also aided such migration that we said led to the dispersal of man and woman. We study African history before 1875 and indeed thereafter, because we can learn from the past in order not to make the mistake of the past, and also to continue either urbanization, trade and commerce. But we study Africa for the fact that distinct civilization, government also, were developed in Africa, different part of Africa, from north to south, east to west. And we've mentioned and highlighted some of them. Of course, you will be given more tests to read about Nubia, Kush, Aksum, Egyptian civilization, and more importantly, the role of rivers, as we have mentioned in the past, the river valley civilization that implies the importance or significance of rivers in the emergence of kingdoms and civilizations as various kingdoms emerged in Africa. Below the Sahara, you also see the emergence of what we call the Western Sudanese civilization, old ancient Ghana, Mali, Songhai, Kanem Borno, Hausa states, before Uthman Fodio's jihad of 1804. If we move further down south of Africa, that is the continent, you see the Great Zimbabwe, Zulu Kingdom, Bantu, and I'll talk about the Bantu diaspora in another lecture. This is the Great Zimbabwe, an evidence of a large expanse of land and a civilization that indeed debunked the Eurocentric view of Africans not having a way of life, talk less of a vibrant, structured government and cities. You can see in this picture the wall about more than 6 feet. That was the seat of government, and you can see an evidence of security. You can see an evidence of orderliness. You can see an evidence of commerce, etc., etc. So again, that is an evidence that indeed we have a lot to learn about Africa. Lastly, we study Africa as a prime contributor to human development and progress. Indeed, the Bantu civilization that emerged was a vibrant movement, migration of people from what is today central Cameroon and eastern Nigeria. And they began to migrate south. South for what? For more grassland, for more farmland, for better standard of living. So you can see, and in fact, you can connect what we are witnessing in Nigeria today in terms of the Asmen migrating. It has always been because the cattle, the cow, the goats must feed, okay? It is about survival, it's about commerce, it's about trade, it's about development. And as we develop, we have a need for more land. Also in Africa, before the encounter with Europeans in the 15th century onward, there was an economic system that varies from one community, one society, one kingdom, one empire to the other. There was exchange of goods beyond barter trade, whereby you have a pen, I have, let's say, a cell phone. That is the barter trade. But it was beyond that. It was not as simplistic as that. There was indeed trade, complex trading system that also gave birth to daily trading, weekly trading, interregional trading, intercontinental trading. They trade far and wide. The Sahara, for instance, was never an impediment because the camel, the camel to some extent cow, but also likely human portrait were used to transport goods from the south to the north. There was vibrant agricultural development, as I've mentioned. But more importantly is the presence of metal technology. If you look at iron smelting and the use of iron, it was very, very significant in the development of agriculture. In the pre-colonial period, pre-encounter with the Europeans, the element of iron oil and the knowledge of smelting iron oil to a sharp object was crucial to the making of kingdoms, to the emergence of empire, but more importantly, to the production of what? Food. It was useful for irrigation, it was useful for farming, and it increased the productivity. And a greater evidence of that is what happened in Meroe and in North culture, okay? They were known to have discovered iron oil, just like we discover in this part of the world, that is Nigeria, iron oil in the Delta region in 1956. By 58, you can talk about the crude oil being produced. The same thing happened a long time ago. And if you think about the present, whereby you have even ministers being appointed in charge of mineral resources, and then we are now thinking and looking at other resources. Evidence in history shows that this area of the North culture in present-day Nigeria, central part of Nigeria, we will find a lot of natural resources that the government, the people can utilize. I will pause here, and I'm going to ask all of you to unmute for our next class. We will be looking at other issues concerning why we study Africa. We'll look at the political and social system that emerged, and then we'll look at the type of governance that also emerged. We also look at the issue of peace and conflict resolution. So what are we trying to do in this class? We are trying to show you that the past is not just about the past people. It reflects on the present. And our understanding of the past and the present can aid our knowledge or our prognostication into the future. So I thank you very much. And again, I hope you've been enjoying my class. Again, I'm Professor TJ, and I wish all of you a nice time. Do you have any question for me? Any question? Anybody? You can unmute. I guess you do not have a question, or you are all of you are shy. But it's okay. Thank you very much for coming to class.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I'll see you next time.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.